Check, 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 check. All right. All right, we're going to go ahead and get things started here. Is that double R coming in the back right there? Look at that, Randy Rainwater. You know if Randy Rainwater's here, it's a big day. It's a big day. Love you, Randy. Great to have you here. So glad to have you here on this beautiful Monday. It's a beautiful Monday. Just the weather's great. And I think the Razorbacks whipped that Tennessee Orange up in Fayetteville. Makes it even better on Saturday. Woo! Great to have everybody here. We're going to have a fun show. Coach Dan Mullen is here. A lot of experience, Dan Mullen, against the Razorbacks over the years, number one. Can't wait to hear what he's got to say about some of his past battles versus the Razorbacks as a head coach at Mississippi State and Florida, and offensive coordinator at Florida, too. He's also on ESPN. He's breaking down games. He knows what's happening in the SEC. So just like last week with Greg McElroy, did you enjoy Greg McElroy last week? Holy cow. You think about that, we've had Sam Pittman, Brett Favre, Ray Lewis, Eric Dickerson, Hunter Yurachek, Jimbo Fisher, Greg McElroy, and today Dan Mullen. So if you missed last week, and I think we got to turn down the overhead music. I'm not sure why. Is that Taylor Swift? I'm not sure. We got to turn that down. Does anybody have let's have nothing against Taylor. And see, it's amazing. Where's Roger at? Is Roger here? Roger knows on our show I'm the one that can hear the best. Roger sometimes struggles with hearing, and he goes, how do you hear that? And I don't know why. I was blessed with amazing hearing. But we want to make sure, and if we can turn that down. Does anybody else hear that? Okay, good. It's not just me. I love you, Roger. I love you. I do. You're my buddy. He doesn't hear it. Yeah, he did. I'll tell you what we'll do. Perfect. How about that? Very nice. Very nice. Good job. So if you missed it last week, Coach, Greg McElroy had some interesting things to say about Razorback football. We just come off a really tough loss at Texas A&M, a game that Arkansas was leading in the fourth quarter, and Greg McElroy made this comment to our audience.
You catch him on the wrong day, and all of a sudden he's on fire. They're going to beat somebody really good. I don't know what week that will come. It will happen this year. I would almost guarantee it. It will happen. It's just, will it happen against Tennessee? Will it happen against Texas? Will it happen against Missouri, who at that point might be playing for their playoff lives? They're going to get somebody. The problem is they also could get got by somebody that shouldn't get them. And that's, I think, what's really infuriating about watching them right now are the ebbs and flows and the ceiling where it's at. The ceiling's pretty high. It's just the floor's pretty low, too, because of the mistakes that have been made.
But did he nail it? Did he nail it already right off the bat? Tennessee. Good job, Greg McElroy. I still hear the music. Yes, thank you, Chris. Coach, we expect perfection for what we pay here at the DoubleTree, so we're going to get this right. Let me go ahead, by the way, before we get to a couple other things. This is the Dan Mullen pullout brought to you by Rockstar Passes. They're so good. Rockstar's been so good to us. I know there's some Gator fans. Coach, no smiley face. Yeah, it's the Dan Mullen yell at you face. So I have a funny feeling there are some Gators here in the room, Coach, that probably spent more money on this than anybody else. Let's see if they want it. Number is 973614. 973614. 973614. If you're a Razorback fan, you can throw darts at it. Hi, there he is. Look there. Look what he's wearing, Coach. Look what he's wearing. He's wearing Gator orange and blue. You know, hey, same guy was here last week. You know what he did, Coach? 2 weeks ago? Jimbo Fisher was here. He got up to take his picture with Jimbo, and he did this. I swear to you. He did. He did. All right. Congratulations. Yeah. So in addition to Greg McElroy, I knew this meeting was going to be great when I heard Chuck Barrett. If you'll watch in the press box, Chuck Barrett and Quinn Grovey as they call the last few seconds, Arkansas versus Tennessee. All corners tonight. How about that? Let's give a round of applause for that at the end. Chuck, love Chuck Barrett. Chuck will forever be questioned about the phantom pass at the end of that game that was not thrown. Coach, he said there was a pass incompletion. It was so quick we didn't see it happen. If you'd listened to Quinn was laughing because he'd run out of bounds and sort of tipped him off, but a big win. And then we haven't had many celebrations in the locker room with close games with Sam Pittman. That's been the narrative, always going back to Florida last year, winning the game down in Gainesville. I love to hear, listen to the players, how excited they were when he gives the phrase that he's so well known for, but listen to the unison of the Razorback football players on this.
I've been here 5 years. That's the greatest win we've had this fall.
How about that? Wow. All 85 players said turn that damn jukebox on. So congratulations to Sam Pittman. That was a big win for Arkansas. Plenty to talk about that. This time I want to bring up Pigskin Preacher Chuck Monan. He's our official minister of the Touchdown Club. He's also the minister of Pinnacle Church of Christ. I do want to say our condolences go out to our longtime photographer, Dwayne Duncan, who lost his mother this past few days. And Dwayne is, there he is right here. Dwayne has been a huge supporter of our Touchdown Club, been taking pictures for 10, 15 years, taking tens of thousands. And Dwayne, we're sorry to hear about your mom passing. Love you, buddy, and hate to hear the news on that. Love you, man.
In addition to Dwayne's family, let's be remembering a good Razorback fan named Stormy. She lost her dad last week, and Saturday morning they laid him to rest, and they buried him. And then Saturday night, she got a smile brought to her face by that fourth quarter comeback against the Vols. And I sent to her, I said, I don't know all of the Lord's comings and goings. That's way beyond my pay grade. But maybe, just maybe, the Lord decided you needed something a little bit to smile about. And she said, that's it. So let's pray together. Father, we're thankful for the food, for the health we enjoy, for the opportunity to be here. We're thankful that Coach could be with us to share his life experiences. We pray your blessings on him and his family. Father, be with Dwayne and his family and the loss they've sustained, and our friend Stormy and all the Razorback fans everywhere. Father, we're appreciative of every good gift that we know that comes from you, and help us always to be grateful and willing to share with others. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chuck. If you will, make sure you mute your phones. Coach Mullins was at, you were after it was the week of the Oklahoma-Tennessee game. You spoke to the Knoxville Touchdown Club, or was it after? Was it after?
Right after the game.
So far, it's so amazing that you're after the Arkansas win over Tennessee. So I'm not sure where you're speaking next week, but good. Yeah, they're going to be happy when you get there. If you could just tell, if you want to text everybody, they can watch on myarkansaspbs.org, lrtouchdown.com, YouTube, our Touchdown Club YouTube page, Facebook, Twitter. Coach, no other Touchdown Club in America makes our meeting more accessible to people all over the country. So you're nationwide today, even though you're here in Little Rock, plus being on 103.7 The Buzz. Do want to thank our sponsors real quick. Simmons Bank. We've got Sheena Elam up here at front, along with Cameron Fuller. Great to have you guys up here. I was telling Coach the story, amazing story about Simmons Bank. Don't forget, Rex, the Simmons Bank Championship presented by Stevens at Pleasant Valley Country Club, one of the biggest sporting events in this city's history. Be a part of it. Be a part of it. Go to SimmonsBankChampionship.com. And volunteer, buy sponsorship, buy tickets, whatever. But we're excited about that. We appreciate their sponsorship of the club. Stevens, of course, they're sponsoring that same golf tournament, Rex, but they also have the Jackson T. Stevens Cup at the Oklahoma City Golf and Country Club 2 days before. So the Golf Channel will be all up and down from Monday through Sunday. We'll be talking about Arkansas-related golf, and which I think is great. So we appreciate Stevens and their support of everything sports-related in Arkansas. Oaklawn, Hot Springs. I know we have Zach Gillum here along with Brad Hall. By the way, 5-1 on my college picks this weekend. Thank you very much. 3-0 on my NFL picks going into tonight. Got to hope that Pat Mahomes wins. But if you haven't downloaded the Oaklawn Sports app, do it. You can choose to go with me or go against me. Right now, I'm hot. I'm just telling you, I'm hot. That can always change, but thanks to Oakland Hot Springs and their support. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, I see Judy Henry out here, 124 years of experience, law work, 79 attorneys, 55 areas of legal service. They also are the sponsor of our Cliff Harris Award. I don't know if you guys saw it, Judy, last night, the Pittsburgh-Dallas game. Cliff Harris was all over all the old films, and really, we couldn't do the Cliff Harris Award without Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. We appreciate you guys so much. Crane Automotive, the largest dealer group in Arkansas, 20 dealerships, 1,000 employees here. They're looking to sell 24,000 cars this year. We appreciate Christian Crane, Chris Crane, and all the folks at Crane Automotive. Sissy's Log Cabin, 54 years in the business. Bill and Sherry Jones, Jim Englehorn, locations in Pine Bluff, Little Rock, West Little Rock, Jonesboro, Memphis, and Conway. Doublebees, owner Steve Lytle and GM Ed Light. Gas it, grab it, and go. We love Doublebees. I know Double R does as well. Summerwood Sports, we got the Hendricks family, David and Doug, a most amazing sports complex in the South. Birthday parties, training sessions, call them and see what the magic is all about out there at Summerwood Sports. Roller Funeral Homes, thanks Renata Jenkins-Byler for your support of the Touchdown Club all these years. We couldn't do it without you. Advantage Service Company, Kevin Brooks, Rex, I'm out there doing my live report on Channel 7, and Kevin comes jogging by Saturday. Maybe that was a good luck charm, I don't know. But, Kevin, thank you for your support of the Touchdown Club. One call does it all for Advantage Service Company. Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall and Amanda Copley. This is a great headline. Partying like it's 1999. Very nice. That's a playoff the last time the Razorbacks beat a top 5. We've got a great All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week we'll introduce here in just a second. We appreciate their support. I also want to thank Hatcher Agency. Did I see Greg Hatcher? Greg Hatcher is actually here today. Greg, great to have you. Does so much behind the scenes for our Touchdown Club. Twin City Limo, which he owns with Popeye, and he helps, get our guests here. And Coach, when you got picked up in first class, that's the way we do it here at the Touchdown Club. But Greg, thank you so much for your support. Also want to thank Simmons Bank Arena. You know what the big announcement was last week, right? Did you hear? The big announcement, I said it was coming. It's Rascal Flatts. So if you're a Rascal Flatts fan, the tickets are on sale now for their show March 29th. If Rascal Flatts is not your speed, Disney on Ice. Mickey's Search Party. RJ will be there. If you got kids, you know about that. That's coming up March 23rd. We appreciate it. And what's so disappointing, Michael Marion, Coach, is a huge Mississippi State fan and supporter. He's the only guy we have in here that brings a cowbell to the meetings. And I hate that he's not here. He's in Nashville today, but thanks to Simmons Bank Arena. Pulaski County Farm Bureau, Ty Dennis, Stephen Reichard, we appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Give them a chance to quote your business, insurance business. They will deliver. War Memorial Stadium, 76 years, Rex, since 1948. Go out there and take advantage of what they offer to you besides just great high school football and state championships. Arkansas Urology, who's sponsoring our live broadcast today. Jeff Thomas is here. He's a provider at Arkansas Urology in North Little Rock. Chris Chenip told me they have a record number this past year, record number of guys that got tested in September, National Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. So good job, guys, that you did that. Still go get checked if you haven't gotten checked. They will take care of it. It'll save your life. 103.7 The Buzz, Rex, our CEO is a Tennessee fan. She didn't show up for work today, so we did a welfare check on her today just to make sure she was okay. Terry Mahan. Sorry, Terry. Not sorry. But thanks to Justin and DJ, who's doing the show right now. Roger Scott, my co-host buddy. He's the best in the world. Appreciate them. AY Magazine. This is the latest. This was a month ago, right, Heather? This is a story on George Macris, the president of Simmons Bank. Appreciate all the great work you guys are doing at AY Magazine and AMP Magazine. We appreciate that so much. The DoubleTree Hotel. Lakia, last year I mentioned Angel. It was actually Nita back in the back of the room. All three of them do a great job for the DoubleTree. We couldn't do it without them. JF Media Marketing, Alicia Flynn, thank you so much. We've got the best social media in America. I mean, every week we're getting noticed all across America. So, Coach, you're going to say something that will trend today nationally. I don't know what it is, but something you're going to say. Something controversial, yes. Last but not least, Arkansas PBS, Courtney Pleasure, Anita, Brian, Kevin, all you guys in the back, thank you. The Three Musketeers make this thing work every week. Y'all are the best. Couldn't we do it without you? Give them a round of applause. All of our great sponsors. Best sponsors in America, Rex. Nobody does it better than our sponsors. Our Touchdown Club team, Dwayne Duncan, I mentioned earlier, Chris Kane, RJ Hawk, Wes Sutton, amazing volunteers. If you're a volunteer, Debbie Wyman, our executive director, if you're a volunteer, stand up and let's give them a round of applause. They do this every week, 2 hours in advance and an hour after. These great volunteers. Coach, we've got the best in America. That's why our reputation has grown so much in just 20 years. All right, R.J. Hawk, we've got an amazing All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. Wait till you hear the score of his touchdown club. Of his game last week. It is maybe the biggest we've ever had for a touchdown club All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. R.J. Hall.
Thank you, David. So I'm assuming most people keep up with high school sports in the state, right? Yeah. Well, a couple weeks ago, you may have heard the score 78-72 as a final score. That was between Bauxite and Fountain Lake, and our All-Arkansas Preps player this week is Marcus Wimberly, who came to us from Bauxite. And guys, in that game, there was a touchdown fest. They were passing touchdowns. They were running touchdowns. Well, Marcus carried the ball 8 times for 234 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also caught 4 passes for 44 yards and a touchdown. He had 4 tackles in the game. He had a couple for a loss, and they won that game 78-72. Now, this past week, they played a game that they weren't as fortunate to score 78. But in that game, you remember last week I talked about the kid that had a 96-yard run and a 97-yard run back-to-back? Well, Wimberly heard about that, so he said, you know what, I want to do one of my own. So he had an 86-yard run for a touchdown this last week. So in 2 weeks now, he has rushed for almost over 400 yards and has 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks. His dad is here today. Our All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week is Marcus Wimberly from Bauxite. Good job. Here, step over here. Good job, brother. Yep. Anything we know.
So those of you that follow recruiting know where Marcus is right now committed to, and that is Oklahoma. So as you know, Coach, I created the Broyles Award, Coach Mullen, back 29 years ago. And so Brent Venables was a 4-time finalist. His 4th time he did it, he finally won the award when he was at Clemson. So Brent's a great guy, and so we respect your decision. But in this age of NIL, let me see what I can do right here. Let's see here. I'm kidding. Maybe not. Maybe not. Still a lot of time, Hogs. You did watch that game Saturday too, right? Yeah, you did. Anyway, great to have you, Marcus. Great to have you, Mr. Wimberly. We appreciate that. He's a great young man. Got a lot of ground to cover. It was amazing weekend in college football. I love the pro football, that's fine, but college football, nothing beats it. And it was a magical weekend, including the Razorbacks, and nobody can recap it better than this guy to our right. Give it up for Rex Nelson, everybody.
Thanks, David. Boy, you know, in 20 years of doing this, because we now have a rich history in this club, Coach, there aren't many times that you say, this is a first. This is a first for this club. But obviously, beating a top 5 team at home for the first time since 1999, first time on a Monday I've gotten to stand up here and do this. How about that? We weren't around in 1999 as a club. First win at home against the top 5 since 99. What a night. And it was made even better by the fact that it was an ABC primetime game. Fayetteville, Arkansas outdrew the New York Yankees in Yankee Stadium, for instance, in the playoffs. If you go back and look at the ratings, the A team, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Kirk's dog, you know, they were all there. I mean, it was prime time if you've ever heard it. Kirk, by the way, is probably the first person ever to broadcast in Berkeley and Fayetteville on the same day. Can you imagine 2 cultures more different than that, in Berkeley and Fayetteville? So Sam Pittman, bless him, now wins a 1-score game. That makes him 7-16 in 1-score games, but got a big one. And it wasn't a fluke. Arkansas, of course, outgained Tennessee 434 to 332. But the offense wasn't the story. It really was that Razorback defense. How about our defensive coordinator and staff at Arkansas now? You talk about a rising star right there. Held Tennessee, now let this soak in, held Tennessee to 40 points below their FBS best scoring average of 54. That was their scoring average coming in. 233 yards below their total offense average of 565.8 coming in. Unbelievable. And time of possession, Arkansas led 35-35 to 24-25. So it was close, but you look at these stats, it wasn't a fluke. We kicked their butt is what that was. Nothing fluky about it. Across the state, in Jonesboro Saturday night, ASU wins a big conference game, 18-16 over South Alabama, a 34-yard field goal from Clune Van Andel. You got to love that name, don't you? Clune Van Andel with 10 seconds left. So the Red Wolves now 3-2, 1-0 in the conference. 12 of the 18 points came on field goals by Van Andel, so congratulations to that program. But the Bears let me down on that otherwise great night over here, man. UCA, of course, came in ranked number 5 and number 7 in the 2 FCS polls. Trailed by 14 points at halftime and wound up falling 41-34 on the road at Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian moves to 3-0 in conference. They've got a good team, 4-2 overall. Bears are 4-2 overall now, 1-1 in conference. UAPB falls to 1-4, 0-1 in the SWAC, a 38-28 loss at Alcorn State, which is 2-0 in the SWAC now. UAPB led 14-0 in the first quarter of that game, but couldn't keep it going. By the way, nationally televised game from Pine Bluff on Friday night. The SWAC has a deal for Friday night SWAC football with ESPN2, so nationally televised game on ESPN2 out of Pine Bluff on a Friday night. Now to Division II, where we continue as a state to play very good football. After Saturday, Arkansas's Great American Conference teams are now 17-1 against Oklahoma teams so far this season. Went 6-0 the first week, 6-0 the second week, played each other for a couple of weeks, then went 5-1. First loss finally came. The Boll Weevils let me down by UAM. But Harding and Ouachita, both nationally ranked. Of course, Harding number 1 in the country in Division II, both 5-0. Henderson SAU, both 4-1. Arkansas Tech 3-2. UAM 2-3. Down week, David, for number 1 Harding. They didn't score over 60 points this week. No, number 1 Harding beats 2-3 Southwestern Oklahoma 57-3. And very unusual because they rarely pass the ball. But Cole Keeline, their quarterback, passed for 130 yards. That was a career record for them. He ran for 2 TDs, had 3 touchdowns passing. Bisons led 36-3 at a halftime, and as they've done every game this year, played their backups the entire second half. Ouachita trailed 2-0 Southeastern Oklahoma early, but they went on to win 25-9 over the Savage Storm. Ouachita defense limited Southeastern to just 3 points in the second half and dominated that game defensively. Quarterback named Judd Barton threw 3 touchdown passes for Southern Arkansas. Mule Riders handle 0-5 Southern Nazarene 49-21. Barton 25 of 31 passing to 332 yards. Arkansas Tech downs 1-4 Northwestern Oklahoma 44-21 after rolling to a 31-14 halftime lead. Never look back. As I said, UAM falls to 1-4 East Central Oklahoma 42-17, and Henderson destroys Oklahoma Baptist 52-7. Jody Easter returned the opening kickoff 93 yards for a touchdown for the Reddies. They never look back. Their quarterback Andrew Edwards 15 of 21 passing 247 yards, a career high 6 touchdowns passing for him. Among our Division III and NAI teams, Hendricks is now 3-2 overall, 1-1 in conference following a 34-29 loss to Rhodes from Memphis. Lyon College 1-4 0-3 in conference following a 35-14 loss to Centenary from Shreveport. Arkansas Baptist 1-4, 0-3 in conference after a loss to Texas Wesleyan. Now back to the SEC. How much fun, if you weren't an Alabama fan, was Vanderbilt 40, Alabama 35? The Commodores beat a number one team for the first time. Vanderbilt, get this, was 0-60 against AP top 5 teams. Hadn't beaten Bama in the past 23 games. That dates back 40 years. But I don't know if you were watching on your phone like I was. Even better was the evening after the game. All the Nashville television stations sent up their helicopters and watched those goalposts go down Broadway. So you start out on the Vanderbilt campus, and you've got all these egghead students, you know. Then you get downtown, and most of us are familiar with Nashville here in Little Rock. Of course, the bachelorette party of capital of the world, bachelorette party capital of the world. So you got drunk bachelorettes saying, this looks like fun. Then you got good old boy drunks like wandering out of Jason Aldean's club and saying, man, this looks like fun. And they all mix together and they go down to the Cumberland River and dump the goalposts in the river. Now that's college football, fans. That was just a great scene. Gotta love college football. Aggies of Texas A&M 41-10 over Missouri. Aggies looking awfully good, and God, Arkansas was so close to winning against them. They're 5-1 now, 3-0 in the SEC under first-year head coach Mike Elko. A&M was up 24-0 at halftime. Missouri falls to 4-1 and 1-1. Georgia takes care of Auburn, 31-13, bouncing back from that Alabama loss. So Georgia 4-1, 2-1 in the SEC. Auburn, boy, there's some rumblings there. 2-4 overall, 0-3 in the SEC. Ole Miss beats South Carolina 27-3. Rebels go to 5-1, 1-1 in the SEC coming into that big LSU game. South Carolina falls to 3-2, 1-2, and Florida, only non-conference game of the weekend, beats Central Florida 24-13. Gators go to 3-2 overall. So we got South Carolina at Alabama, Florida at Tennessee, Mississippi State at Georgia, Vanderbilt at Kentucky, Ole Miss at LSU. I think that's a pick'em game. Missouri's at UMass, and then the Red River rivalry game. Watch out, Longhorns. I think they're on upset alert. OU Texas at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Now, Razorbacks are open. Great chance for a lot of you to see one of our other teams because we've got a lot going on. I mentioned UAPB's home on Friday night. Then on Saturday, we have West Georgia at UCA, Northwestern Oklahoma at Harding, East Central Oklahoma at Ouachita, Southwestern Oklahoma at Arkansas Tech, Southeastern Oklahoma at UAM, Berry College at Hendrix, Austin College at Line. You know what that is? That's 2 games in Conway and games in Pine Bluff, Searcy, Arkadelphia, Russellville, Monticello, and Batesville. No excuses. Get out and see a college football game on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.
Do want to congratulate Rex and his wife Melissa. Their son Evan got engaged this weekend. Very nice. Rex got the play-by-play. 3, 2, 1. Promised land. Promised land. Evan is there. Little grandbabies will be on the way soon. Can't wait to see that. Before we bring up Coach, just a couple of folks to introduce real quick. First of all, I mentioned there are a few Gator fans here. One not bigger than Mike Preston, who was with Stevens. Where's Mike at? Whenever we have a Florida guest, he's always here for that. He was obviously a Florida grad and was head of economic development here in Arkansas, but he's with Stevens now. Great to have you, Mike. And his wife, Ann Preston, who coached, she was the homecoming queen when you were the offensive coordinator at Florida. So little do we know, but great to have both of you guys here. Yes, give them a round of applause for being, if you don't mind. Also, Greg Hammonds is back in the back. All these banners we've done for many, many years, Greg Hammonds behind the scene has laid these suckers out. It's not easy trying to fit all the banners, all the sponsors on there. Greg, great to have you and Jackson here today. Davis Ford, my girlfriend's son, is in, just made it back from Alaska. He's a Tennessee fan, so we say our prayers for him today. But great to have Davis Ford back at the Touchdown Club. Yes, let's give him a round of applause and welcome him back to the promised land. Lane Hatcher is over here to my right. Now, Lane was at the Justin Moore concert Thursday night, so Lane's a big Justin Moore fan. So you guys know that Justin Moore did that concert for free for NIL, right? Well, so much for that. We got to pay $250,000 for running on the field. So Justin's got to do another concert in a month to take care of that. But great to see Lane here as well. So, and Justin Moore, good job, buddy. Guess you just got to keep doing these concerts to pay for everything for the NIL. All right. It is time to meet our speaker for today. I don't think he's going to be available much longer because obviously when you hear his amazing record as an assistant coach and a head coach, he's one of the best out there. Let's hear what Steve Sullivan has to say about Dan Mullen.
The theory behind our spread offense is that we want to attack defenses and make them have to defend the entire field.
This is Dan Mullen. 20 years ago, he was Utah's quarterbacks coach where he worked with Alex Smith. Then it was off to work with Urban Meyer at Florida. Then in 2008, he was named head coach at Mississippi State. It took him all of one season to make the Bulldogs winners. He would lead State to 5 bowl wins and a 7-year bowl run. 2014, a magical season. Mullen's Bulldogs climbed all the way to #1 in the polls, a first for the program. They would finish 10-2. In 2016, this happened.
It is my great pleasure to introduce the new head football coach of the Florida Gators, Dan Mullen.
He took a Gator program that won 4 games in 2017 to 10 wins in 2018 and 11 in 2019. They were top 10 in both seasons. Year 3, he won an East Division title and ended the season ranked 13th. His career head coaching record is 103-61. And who picks the grueling Boston Marathon as his first organized road race? Dan Mullen does. He ran the 26 miles in less than 4.5 hours. Please welcome an SEC Coach of the Year, the Marathon Man, Dan Mullen.
Well, Coach, welcome back to Arkansas. You've been here a few times in the past.
I have. I'm fortunate enough. I've coached here in Little Rock. We had Mississippi State the first couple of years. We played the game here in Little Rock.
For those that don't know, I was asking him before the meeting, being a broadcaster is busier than some people think. He's doing analyst work on Thursday night college games, and you're doing weekend in-studio work.
In studio, yeah. So I head out. We have the Thursday night ESPN game of the week. This week it's Coastal Carolina at James Madison. James Madison, tough loss last week. They were kind of in the lead to get a playoff spot to come back. But I head up there on Wednesday. We call the game Thursday. Then we get to spend those long Friday nights and all day Saturday in that Bristol, Connecticut studio at the worldwide leader there in ESPN.
Interesting. If you haven't stayed up to watch it, Rex, I know a lot of us love Mark Mays, a friend of this club. Obviously, I played for Coach Holtz. You guys have sort of brought back sort of a fun thing at the end of those late night broadcasts.
Yeah, we do. We have the final exam. Matt Berry gets up and grades Joey Galloway and I on different things that happen in college football during the day. It's a lot of fun. The college football final show is one of the cool shows because of all the late night games that comes on late, but then it loops all day. I get everybody in the South watching, right? Because everybody goes. I learned this. I didn't know in coaching, so I learned in the world. So I guess a lot of people, y'all go to the games on Saturday. You're exhausted Saturday night because the highest viewed college football final is the 6 a.m. Sunday morning, which draws like a massive number that all the fans the next morning get up and watch all the highlights of what happened around the country.
Well, obviously, this room, and I told Coach, this is not just a Razorback club. We support all the colleges here in our state. We support all the high school programs, but obviously a massive win for Arkansas. You know, I think dating back to the Florida win at Gainesville, Coach Pittman has struggled to win close games. But to knock off Tennessee number 4 in Fayetteville was a huge win for the program.
It was. And you watch them and watching what Coach Pittman does, how they play. They play tough. I love their defensive strategy coming into the game. You could see they thought, even going for it on 4th down a couple times earlier in the game, that the mindset is, okay, we're going to have to score. These guys can score points. But they had a lot of success. And I think one of the most underrated things that I saw in the game, they had a great defensive plan on how to play that system of Josh Heupel. But the Tennessee defense has been really good. And their ability to move up and down the field on them, even though they didn't get and finish with tons of points, the ability to move the ball, control the tempo of the game against a really good Tennessee defense was impressive.
We'll talk about a little bit later about your history coaching great quarterbacks. What's your thought on Taylon Green? Obviously, he came in and from an accuracy standpoint, had maybe his best game on the biggest stage there is, but he obviously looked good Saturday night.
He really did. So I got to do last spring, usually at ESPN, the college football, one of the unique things that's kind of different in life. Last year at the college football playoff, game ends, head of the ESPN, say, if you need me for anything, I'm around. They're like, no, we'll see you at the end of August. So you have 9 months off a year. So I'm pseudo-retired, I guess. But I got a call. They're like, can you come do the Arkansas spring game? And so I'm like, okay. So I meet, the college football world's kind of funny in today's world. So Coach Pittman comes in, and he's like, right, dealing with NIL, dealing with transfer portal, like beside himself. Bobby Petrino comes in, and he's like, smile. I've never seen you so happy. He's like, I just got to coach ball. I don't have to go deal with any of that stuff anymore. But then Taylor walks in, and I'm like, oh, well, that can't be him. I mean, he looks like a defensive end. I mean, he is a big-looking dude. He reminds me a lot of Cam Newton, who I got to coach at Florida. But he is, watching that game, I thought, wow, this team is going to be extremely dangerous because they have I'm a big Sam Pittman fan. I think he does a great job motivating the players, obviously running a really good program of guys that are going to play hard, be fundamentally sound, disciplined. You don't go from January through August. That's when you don't want to read about your team, and I never really hear about him. You know, it gives everybody a team they can be proud of on and off the field. And then Bobby obviously comes in to run the offense, and he's going to have run his offense, which is he's a great offensive coach. But this guy just adds a different dimension. And I know he can be frustrating. I know everyone says, well, he can get frustrating sometimes. But you don't want to reel in that talent because he can do things that a lot of guys can't do. When a play breaks down, he becomes special. And I think you see that, his athleticism, his ability to extend plays or to take off running and make things happen. I think it came through that he has the ability to win big games for Arkansas.
Interesting, Arkansas has Oklahoma State on the ropes on the road, has a chance to win that game. They're leading Texas A&M in the fourth quarter. Don't get that done, but they get over the hump. They're down 11 in the fourth quarter, but come back and win this game. Going forward, you got a week off. Got LSU coming off a game against Ole Miss. And then you've got some other tough games at home. What are your thoughts about maybe the future of the rest of the season for the Razorbacks?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. You know, I mean, you can't have a bye week at a better time, right? Right now, you come off such a huge win. There's an emotional high. And people say, let's race back out there to go play. Well, Taylor was banged up at the end of the game. You've gone through a tough stretch of playing some 4-quarter physical football games. And let's catch our breath. We're on a high note. There's a lot of positive right now. You can see them. I mean, there's certainly, it's not, when you watch them, the thing that makes the SEC different is the gap, right? There's a lot of conferences you go around the country, and the top teams are up here, and the bottom teams are down here. And it's not going to be a game. I always said this in the SEC. There are 15 fan bases, and now I got to change it to 16 because of what happened in Nashville. I always honestly believed there's no bigger pressure team. There's 15 fan bases that expect to win a championship and compete for the conference title. There's, only one gets to do it. That means now, in throw Vandy in, there's 15 fan bases that think, no, that wasn't a great year. We didn't win the conference championship. And it's not like that around the country. You go to a lot of these conferences like, hey, we got to a bowl game this year. Hey, we had a winning season. That's fantastic. not in this league, and that's what makes it tough. So when you look and you know the fan base here, I think they have the quarterback in place. They have the mindset, the team, and getting a big win over a top team, they can certainly have a great season. And they're never going to step on the field and not be able to play with anybody.
Historic weekend as you had two unranked teams beat two top 5 SEC teams. You mentioned Vanderbilt, and that wasn't a fluke. Vanderbilt looked really impressive. Clark Lee's really done a good job there, and Alabama's feeling really good about themselves after beating Georgia. All of a sudden, boom, they get packed, slapped in the face by Vandy.
Yeah, this league will do that to you. I always remember this every weekend. I always say to people that what makes the SEC sometimes different is you go get a game on Saturday and you're playing this, you're like, holy cow, this team's unbelievable. We prepare. Hey, we got this great win. And Sunday morning you come in and you turn the film on. You're like, how the hell is this team better than the last team we just played? There's just so much depth and talent within the league. And it just means, when you say it means more, you just see it. You see the passion of on Saturday. And you go around the country, and there's big games, there's excitement. They get up for one game. But it's every week in this league. Every week is the biggest game there is. Okay, we go to, because if you ever want to do the litmus test, and I'm not going to bash like Cal, but let's see if they have that same juice this next Saturday with whoever they're playing this Saturday. You had game day, you showed up, it's excitement. It's crazy, it's a great atmosphere. It's that way every week in the SEC. A lot of places you have a big game and people show up for the big game. Not here. It is the passion of the fan base is what makes it different.
Of course, a really amazing coaching career for you. We'll just pick up. You were born in Pennsylvania, right? Is that right?
I was born in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania.
We'll just pick up. I know you had a couple stops along the way, but I think you meet up with Urban Meyer at Notre Dame when Bob Davie was the coach there. Is that right?
Bob was the coach, and I got hired on. I left Syracuse. Urban was the wide receiver coach, and I came in as an offensive grad assistant.
Crazy how coaching works. You came in, and little did you know that you and Urban would end up having a pretty good run together.
We did. We had a lot of fun. It was really interesting. Back then, in those days, everyone was in the I formation. We made a great trip down to John L. Smith was coaching at Louisville.
We remember John L.
Yeah. I mean, having a very successful career down at Louisville.
Yes, he
did. They were
did.
very innovative. Yeah. And we went down. We played Michigan State at Notre Dame. We're in the I formation. Everyone's in the I, handing the ball off the middle. And they're spreading the ball all over the field. And I remember we played Michigan State. They were in 32 safety or corner blitzes in the game. And he's like, oh. We're like, okay, so what do you like against that? He's like, we don't see those. So what do you mean? So, well, we're an empty. We spread the field out, and so they can't blitz those people. Now they can because defense have finally caught up. But they were so ahead of the curve, so we went down and visited them and said, hey, we need to start doing some of this stuff. Now, we didn't get it implemented at Notre Dame, but then when Urban got hired at Bowling Green, and he's like, hey, let's go. Come coach the quarterbacks for me. And a lot of the spread offenses, I guess you see around the country now, were started in this back room. It was really a unique deal because you're at Bowling Green. Honestly, nobody. But you don't have the media. There wasn't social media, one. Two, you didn't really have to answer to media a lot, so you can be really creative. So I remember we go into one practice, and we're in the red zone. I said, you know what, we're in two tights trying to run an inside zone play. I said, our quarterback's a really good athlete. We're going to take this other receiver. Let's run the running back. We're going to put 3 receivers out to this side with the 2 tight ends, and we're just going to run the quarterback up the middle. And so we started doing that. The defensive coordinator comes running in after. He's like, you can't do that. I said, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, I don't have an answer to that right there. So like it's really disheartening to the guys at practice to do that. I'm like, okay, so we're on to things. So we experimented in so many different things, right? Which here, Gus Malzahn created the Wild Hog. He came to visit me to get all that information on how we were doing it all, right? He did, and it was smart by him. Gus kind of came out. I remember going to see him at Springdale High School. It's like, hey, show me this stuff you're doing with the quarterback where you run the quarterback. And what happened is we went to Utah, and we did it with a kid named Ben Moa. But then we had to play against it. you know, because he had McFadden and, I mean, the two running backs.
And we're gonna talk about that in a second.
It was crazy. So, but it was a lot of fun when you go back and coaching. When you're coaching at a small school, we could really think outside the box. We could try things that people weren't doing, and kind of through trial and failure, we came up with a lot of the spread offense everybody sees today.
You coached Alex Smith at Utah, which I don't know if you guys remember how good Alex Smith was and what he's gone through, and now he's doing great work on the covering NFL. You end up, Urban Meyer gets the head coaching job at Florida. You go down there. And that's where we run into you guys at the SEC Championship with Tim Tebow and Chris Leak.
Yep.
We had McFadden, Felix Jones, Peyton Hillis. And that was a game you mentioned. You guys had an outside chance to win the national championship. Something would have to happen. It happened during the first half. What happened at halftime?
Yeah, so I'm going back up to the box in Atlanta, and Jeremy Foley's the AD, grabs me, and he says, hey, USC just lost. So if we win, we play for the national championship. So don't screw this up. And we're up pretty good. I want to say it was like 21-10 or something. We were up at halftime. Well, we come out the second half, like first play, pick six. Chris Leak throws a pick six. The next play, I think we fumble, and Arkansas runs back. I'm like, holy cow. All we have to do is not screw this up, and we're going to a national championship game. And it was like touchdown. Then Herb, we end up going 3 and out, and he calls the fake punt on a reverse. We get the fake punt. It's stopped again. Punt it. Wandy Pierre-Louis recovers a fumble in the end zone off the punt return, and we kind of rolled. I think we got back on top and rolled after that point.
The fourth down call was the national championship call. I mean, that
really
was pretty gutsy on your own like 15 or 20-yard line. You flipped the field, and that was a difference. It never ended from there.
Yeah, it was big. It was big. We had a really good. Those were both two really good football teams.
No, so Anita, I think we've got a shot here of obviously the next coach. Obviously, you were there with Chris Leak, but you also had Tim Tebow, and so which is obviously a class act. We'll get him here at the Touchdown Club one of these days. But what was it like working with Tim and the kind of person he is and the kind of quarterback he was?
He's awesome. If you haven't met him, it is all real. He is that good of a human being. Just one of the special people you'll ever meet in the world. One of the things that make coaching great, you know, people are like, what do you remember in coaching? I remember different moments of the games. I don't remember specifics of all of it. Some of it you do. But you remember you have the opportunity as a coach, I always feel, to make a positive impact on young people's lives. And you look, and I feel pretty fortunate. I got to make an impact on Tim's life a little bit, help him get the stage that he is now for the work that he does. If you ever see a cool foundation, all the work he does in human trafficking, for special needs kids around the world with Night to Shine, the stuff he does is unreal. But it is all real. The funniest one with him is there's probably very few people in this world that can push his buttons. And I'm one of them.
How do you push Tim Tebow's buttons?
It's just simple things. You know, like an I can't is a big one. Like for him, like he came in, I remember came in with the SEC Network or Nation. He was doing a game at the house, and I had Dak Prescott. They were in the weight room, and they were going to go to film something in the weight room. I'm like, I just walked out, and I'm like, Dak is the ultimate it guy, Tim. There's no way you can do more leg press than he can. I mean, and within 2 seconds, he's changed, sweating, like, I can do more than he can. And I'm like, dude, I was just messing with you. But, you know, just little things that I could get him kind of fired up and riled up in that way in a competitive sense. But he was just such an ultimate competitor on the field, loved ball, loved football, loved competing, and just loved being a tough guy.
A lot of people argue about who should have won the Heisman, McFadden or Tebow. I'm sure your vote's with Tebow, right?
No. What year was that? That was 06.
What year was that?
7.
2020. Tebow had the 2020 year. 2020 year were numbers that it was tough for McFadden to overcome.
Yeah, he was tough to beat. He won it. The one that was interesting with him is his year. It was, yes. The year he won it. The next year, we win the national title in 08. And what a motivator. Sam Bradford won it that year. And we got to play Oklahoma in the national title game. And it was like a personal insult to him that he didn't win the Heisman Trophy. So if you go through his career, and you remember in that game, and little things with him, I think the only personal foul of his career he got in that game, he ran for a first down, and I think he jumped up and it went towards their bench, and I think it was at Sam Bradford, and he just gator chomped him 5 times and pointed at the bench. That it should have been his award, but we won the national title.
Well, he's such a great guy. So I haven't had a chance to watch it, Coach. I just want to ask you because people have asked me, have you had a chance to watch the Netflix documentary on what happened?
On the Swamp Kings?
Yeah.
I was in it.
So I know you are, but I'm saying, do you
really
agree?
Good.
Would you agree with the assessment? I haven't had a chance to see it.
Yeah, there's some things, a lot they do, a lot of it's real. I think it covers a lot of it. I think people are like, oh, why don't you go cover one more thing or cover this? Their whole deal was who would get involved in the show, and they were going to show kind of life behind the scenes. It's actually, if you haven't seen it, I think it was a pretty realistic look of what college football life is about and what those guys go through and the intensity and what it is on a daily basis and how crazy it is on a daily basis for those guys. I mean, some of the stuff I think we did then, I don't think you could do in today's world. It was pretty intense, the training and all of the stuff that went on. And I think they reached out because the producers of my house, and we got them in touch with people. There's some people that want to be involved, and there's some that didn't. A lot of people, the Aaron Hernandez, I mean, there's so much on him. And a lot of people probably have a different feeling on him than what gets portrayed a lot publicly of knowing him personally. So I think a lot of people didn't want to, if they were going to do much on him, they would say, hey, we'll only do what he was like when he was at Florida hanging out with us. We're not going to get into what happened later in his life.
You went on to become the head coach at Mississippi State. Hard to believe he spent 9 years at Mississippi State. I was looking. The Mississippi State years, 2009 and 2017, as a head coach at Mississippi State, you coached against Petrino, John L. Smith, Brett Bielema, and then you, as a Florida coach, ended up coaching against Pittman. But let's talk about those Mississippi State years. You took Mississippi State to a level that nobody had seen before. Pretty darn impressive.
It was. We had a great time. And it was, you know what, we did it. We looked around the league, and you started saying, okay, how do we compete with all these different teams? And there was always great players in the state of Mississippi. And so one of our first things was we have to recruit all the kids from home. And one of the day I got the job, I went in and looked. And I said, hey, it's always an interesting thought. I said, the top running back possibly in NFL history is a guy named Walter Payton. And the top receiver is a guy named Jerry Rice. Okay, you have Jackie Slater as one of the best O-linemen ever. Hugh Green was the first defensive player that almost won a Heisman. You had Brett Favre and Steve McNair as 2 top quarterbacks. And yet none of them went to Mississippi State, and they're all local kids. And none of them even played for SEC schools. And I said, so if we could, could you imagine what that Hall of Fame walking in that school would look like when all those guys played for you? So I said, what we need to do is really focus at home. Let's go get into every school in the state, go find guys, because these guys are out there that people didn't recruit in the past. We need to get all these guys, and we'll go and develop them, bring them into the program, develop them, and work hard. And we did. We had a fan base. I think expectations changed certainly while I was there, because when I got there, it was like, hey, if we can beat Ole Miss every once in a while and get to a bowl game every once in a while, that'd be nice. On my way out, it was kind of like, when are we winning the national title? Like, we got to number 1.
Got to number 1. Took Mississippi State to number 1 in the nation. I think Ole Miss was number 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Great trivia question. In the college football playoff era, the first team ever ranked number 1 in the first college football playoff poll ever was Mississippi State.
Mississippi State.
I'm a Jeopardy question.
What do you remember, Coach, about you had some great shootouts with Arkansas during your years as a coach?
Yeah, there's tough ones. Well, right here, interesting one. If you go to 2013, right here in Little Rock, we had to play we're down to our 3rd string quarterback. Game goes to overtime. Damian Williams comes in. Tyler Russell was out. Dak Prescott's out. Damian Williams comes in, and he runs a play in. About 20 yards out in overtime. Nico Whitley just takes the ball away, creates a turnover. We win in overtime. It was the first game that Mississippi State University, their football program, had ever won in the state of Arkansas in the history of the school. So I think that was a pretty cool one. And it actually kicked off a winning streak that led us to the next time we lost. After that game, we were number 1, and we lost by 4 to Alabama, who was number 2 in Tuscaloosa the next year. It kind of kicked off a winning streak for us.
You had a heck of a, was it double overtime in Fayetteville? That was a 51-48. You guys remember that one? It was I
wasn't over. That was regulation. We scored all those points in regulation. We scored all those points. That was whoever got the ball last. So I felt good. We got the ball and all of a sudden score, and then I look up and there's still like 35 seconds or something left, and I'm like, uh-oh, that means they get the ball last. I was hoping it would just be the end. Arkansas goes right down the field, and we're able to block a field goal in the final play of the game to come up with the win.
Talking about great quarterbacks, Dak Prescott, Anita. I think we've got a couple shots of Dak. Obviously the most decorated player in Mississippi State. Goes on and now signs the wealthiest contract in the history of the NFL. Talk about Dak and what kind of guy he is.
I mean, amazing. I did text him afterwards, and I said, next time we see dinner is definitely on you. But you know what? You talk about having kids live their dreams. I mean, he grew up in Louisiana, didn't come from much, and is like, hey, one day, you ask him when he was a kid, he always wanted to be quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And he gets to go do that now. And it's college football's funny. I got a funny story on Dak. So you look at his great career. So he redshirted his first year. He didn't play his second year. His third year, we're going to kind of utilize him with a kid named Tyler Russell, who's a quarterback. They're a little different style, so we had some packages for him to go in. Tyler ends up getting hurt. He ends up having a pretty good year his redshirt sophomore year. And then leads us to number 1, his junior year, comes back for a 5th year, and has an even better 5th year, just our team wasn't as good that year, so doesn't get the accolades. Goes on and gets drafted. And in today's world, with guys jumping from school to school to school to school sometimes, there was so much development that Dak got between his first year and 5th year, that by his 4th and 5th year, I mean, he's in doctorate level classes of football. He sits in every game plan meeting. He's there. He knows every intricate check in the offense. He knows how we evolve from one year to the next in the offense. He knows how to read every coverage, every defense we see. And it gave him that experience when he got to the Cowboys. Because I remember he called, he's a rookie with the Cowboys. Tony Romo gets hurt. And here he is. He's going to start a preseason game as a rookie, like just signed 4th-round draft pick of the Cowboys. So I called him. I said, are you nervous? He says, yeah. So you shouldn't be. He's like, why? Says, it's pretty simple. You can go out there today and throw 3 picks. They're going to sign somebody else, and you'll never play again the next day. But he went out there and lit it up, and he was able to do that because of the experience he had. I remember Jerry calling me, Jerry Jones. They called, and they said, hey, can he just carry us? Tell me about that. Is he just going to throw us on his back and carry us to a championship? I said, I don't know if anybody, maybe Patrick Mahomes, there's like maybe a couple of guys and just carry the team themselves to a championship. I said, he has the personality. He will lead you to one, though. He is the ultimate leader, ultimate it guy. And I will say this, every day I've met him, from the first day to the last day he played for me, every day he got better. So if that's the case, his whole career, he's going to continue to get better and better. And maybe he will get to that point where he can carry you to a title one day. And he's starting to get that level.
All right, NIL.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Obviously, you're out of coaching right now, but if you get back in coaching, thoughts on NIL and how to deal with that?
Yeah, I think it's, the sad part about it, I think it's a great thing that the players are getting paid. Okay? And if you think of the NIL, the shame is the NCAA sometimes comes out with thoughts of good ideas or where they're at, but don't understand the daily application of how it's going to play out. I was on a committee with the NCAA, and they said NIL. I said, well, NIL is only, recruiting based. I said NIL is only recruiting based. They said, no, it'll have nothing to do with recruiting whatsoever. It's for, Tim Tebow. I mean, can you imagine what Tim Tebow's value would have been in college? Not the pay for him to go to a school, his legitimate commercial value. I think his time there, he was voted like the 4th most recognizable athlete in the world behind like Cristiano Ronaldo, like one of the top athletes in the world. And so it was designed for that, and it didn't turn out that way. But as a coach, you knew it was only going to be recruiting. You know, you combine it with transfer portal at that point. Transfer portal, again, a great idea. Instead of all the paperwork, a guy's not happy, coaches leave, he wants to move back home, wants to change schools. Well, I said, well, if you add transfer portal and NIL, this was back, I think, in probably 2016 with the NCAA, way before it happened. I said, you'll have recruiting free agency. That's all it is. And that's what it's become. You really wish somewhere along the way they'd figure out the right way to get it done. Because a lot of the message of college football, okay, it's become a big business in TV. I mean, college football has become a massive business. The players 100% should get their share. But we also can't lose the opportunity of guys to go get a degree, to build a foundation for the rest of their lives. Most football careers, most of them are ending right after college at 22. If you're really lucky, and you're a great, great, great player, you get a couple years in the NFL. So now you're 25. I mean, are you going to move to the villages and play shuffleboard at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at 25 years old? What are you going to do? So a lot is getting lost in maybe the foundation of what football can do for you, what your scholarship and college football can do for you when your career ends. And you don't want to lose that in what's going on.
Does Dan Mullen want to? Are you enjoying? I know you've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
2 young kids. Are you enjoying broadcasting, or are you hungry to get back into coaching?
Well, there's things you always miss in coaching, right? There's things you miss, and there's some things you don't with it. And so I'll never say never that I won't go back to coaching. But the time will hit right for me. But it is coaching's TV life. I'm undefeated on TV, right? Even I go do my Mullen it over segment and do predictions. And even if y'all watch it last night, you don't even remember what I said. But you said, whatever I said, it must have been right. Because you're on TV. And so, that part of it is really nice. But there's a lot of things you miss. And, if a situation comes up that's right for me and my family, I think the one thing that gets lost is the effect coaching has. It's not just an individual thing. I mean, it's something that consumes your life. I mean, it's 24/7, 365, but it's not just your life, it's your kid's life, it's your family's life. I remember after I got let go of Florida, my daughter were home for Christmas. She's like, wow, this is cool. I've heard that people go home, you wake up at home on Christmas Day. Because she spent every Christmas she remembered been spent in a hotel room. And, we're getting ready for bowl games or different games. So you see the effect it has on family, and it is an entire family decision to say, this situation at this time would be good for us. So, you never know. I mean, coaching seems easy. I think I've done okay coaching. Yeah. But a school's got to want you. It's got to be the right fit at the right time, and we'll see if that ever plays out.
Last thing, you mentioned you're from Pennsylvania, obviously born in Pennsylvania, but listen, you've been a Southern guy now for quite a while.
Long time.
You live outside of Atlanta. Would you prefer to stay in the South, or does it just work the opportunity? If you were to coach again, you love coaching in the South?
Well, I'll put it this way. When we went to Mississippi State, my wife, who's a Pittsburgher, did say, well, we moved up north to Mississippi. And when you've moved up north to Mississippi, from Florida to Mississippi, when Mississippi's considered up north, you're limited on where you're going to really live life. Both my kids are born in Starkville. They're Southern kids. Lived here, right? I'm considered in the South, right? I'm a damn Yankee. I came and then stayed. Like Yankees, most Yankees come and then they leave. The damn Yankees come and stay. So I've come and stayed. But being here so long, you just get into Southern life, Southern culture. I love being in the South. I love being where football matters. There's nowhere in the country. So I'll give you a funny one. So my wife and I, we went back on it was our 10th anniversary. Our 20th is coming up this summer. Went back to Greece where we went for a honeymoon. And I'm the head coach at Mississippi State. And when you're a head coach at an SEC school, basically you think there is nothing else in the world except SEC football. I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that agree with that statement, right? I mean, it just is like, there's nothing more important than SEC football. And I was there in Greece, and one or two people maybe notice you. But I'm like, you know what? There's like thousands of people that could care less of what happens in the SEC on a Saturday. But to me, it is the most important thing, like football Saturdays and having it be important. And I love that it is important. And that's what's so fun about coaching in the South, is that it's not just important to the people playing the game, it's important to the people that are around the game.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, get up for Dan Mullen, everybody. Thanks, Coach. Great job. Nathan Brown next week, UCA. Thanks for coming, everybody.